Hello and welcome, friends. If you want to improve your mind, strengthen your memory, and learn how to learn more effectively while practicing English, you're in the right place. Before we dive into this story, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming chapters. In this series, we will follow the journey of a young student named Liam, who discovers the fascinating world of learning, memory, and the psychology behind how humans absorb, retain, and apply knowledge. This story will explore how Liam encounters challenges in school, daily life, and personal projects, and how he learns to optimize his brain, overcome distractions, and develop powerful strategies to remember information and apply it effectively. You will see that learning is not just about reading books or memorizing facts. It is about understanding the processes behind knowledge acquisition, focusing attention, managing motivation, and shaping habits that allow the mind to work efficiently. Liam is an ordinary student, like many of us. He struggles with procrastination, forgetfulness, and moments of self-doubt. At first, learning feels overwhelming, and tasks seem impossible. But through curiosity, research, and experimentation, he begins to uncover the secrets of memory, attention, and effective study techniques. Each part of this story will show one principle of learning, along with examples and strategies that you can apply in your own life to boost memory, improve focus, and develop a deeper understanding of any subject. In this first part, you will meet Liam, see the obstacles he faces with studying and retaining information, and follow the first steps he takes toward improving his learning abilities. In the chapters that follow, you will see him experiment with different techniques, face setbacks, refine his strategies, and gradually discover the psychology behind effective learning and memory. By following Liam's journey, you will learn that learning is a skill that can be trained. Intelligence is not fixed, and memory is not an unchangeable trait. By using the right methods, practicing deliberately, and understanding the science of how the brain works, anyone can improve their ability to absorb, retain, and recall information. So get ready to explore the psychology of learning with Liam, reflect on your own habits, and discover practical techniques that will help you boost memory, strengthen focus, and become a more effective learner. By the end of the series, you will not only improve your English but also gain insight into how your mind works and how to maximize its potential. Liam's first real step into the psychology of learning began when he realized that memorizing facts the way he had been doing was inefficient. He often spent hours reading textbooks and notes, only to forget much of it the next day. Frustrated, he decided to explore how memory actually works. He learned that the brain stores information in a structured way, creating connections between new knowledge and what is already known. Simply repeating facts without understanding or linking them would never lead to long-term retention. He started experimenting with associative memory techniques, connecting new information to familiar concepts. For example, when learning about the structure of the brain, he related the hippocampus to a memory librarian, organizing books in a library. This mental image made the concept vivid and easier to recall. He discovered that stories, images, and metaphors helped him remember facts much more effectively than rote repetition. Liam also explored spaced repetition, a method of reviewing information at gradually increasing intervals. Instead of cramming all at once, he scheduled short review sessions over days and weeks. At first, it felt tedious to revisit material he thought he already knew, but he noticed that concepts began to stick in his mind more firmly. He realized that forgetting is natural, but reviewing strategically could strengthen memory pathways and improve long-term retention. Attention became another key insight. Liam noticed that when he studied while distracted, checking his phone or multitasking, he retained very little. He experimented with focused study blocks, setting timers and eliminating interruptions. He found that even short periods of deep focus were far more productive than hours of distracted effort. This reinforced the principle that attention is the gateway to memory. Information cannot be encoded effectively if the mind is not fully engaged. Additionally, Liam discovered the importance of sleep and nutrition in learning. Research showed that sleep consolidates memories, moving them from short-term to long-term storage. Skipping sleep or relying on late-night cramming left him forgetful and unfocused. Eating properly and staying hydrated also affected his concentration and energy levels. He realized that optimizing the brain for learning was not just about study habits, but about caring for the mind and body. To put these lessons into practice, Liam designed a daily learning routine, focused study sessions with short breaks, review using spaced repetition, associating new information with vivid images, and ensuring proper rest. Within weeks, he noticed significant improvements. He could recall facts faster, connect ideas more easily, and feel more confident in tests and discussions. Reflecting on his progress, Liam wrote in his notebook, "Memory is not just storing information, it is creating meaningful connections. Focus, repetition, and rest are the tools that strengthen my mind. Learning is not a burden, it is a skill I can train and improve." He understood that by applying principles from the psychology of learning, he was no longer at the mercy of forgetfulness but actively shaping his cognitive abilities. This experience motivated Liam to explore further. He realized that memory alone was not enough. Understanding how motivation, emotion, and habits influence learning would be the next step in his journey. He was ready to dive deeper into the psychology of the mind, discovering strategies that would not only improve memory but also make learning more engaging, effective, and sustainable. Liam's next discovery in the psychology of learning centered on motivation and mindset. He had learned techniques to improve memory and focus, but he noticed that on some days, no matter how well he planned, he struggled to start studying or stay consistent. He realized that understanding why he wanted to learn was just as important as knowing how to learn. Motivation, he discovered, was the hidden driver behind all effective learning. At first, Liam thought motivation was simply about wanting good grades. But he quickly realized that external rewards were unreliable. Some days, even thinking about exams or achievements didn't inspire him to work. He learned that intrinsic motivation, finding personal meaning in what he studied, was far more powerful. He began linking learning to his own goals and interests, asking, "How will this knowledge help me solve problems, understand the world, or grow as a person?" This shift transformed studying from a chore into an engaging challenge. Next, Liam explored the concept of growth mindset, a principle introduced by psychologist Carol Dweck. A growth mindset is the belief that intelligence and abilities are not fixed but can be developed through effort and learning. He realized that setbacks were not signs of failure but opportunities to improve. When he struggled with a difficult math problem or a complex essay, he reminded himself that persistence and strategy could overcome difficulty. Mistakes became stepping stones rather than obstacles. Liam also noticed the role of emotions in motivation. Feeling frustrated, bored, or anxious could easily derail his study sessions. To manage this, he began setting small, achievable goals within each learning session. Completing these mini-tasks gave him a sense of progress, which boosted his motivation and confidence. Positive emotions reinforced engagement, while negative emotions, when acknowledged but not dwelled upon, became signals to adjust strategy rather than reasons to quit. He experimented with different ways to reward himself and maintain momentum. Short breaks, small treats, or moments to reflect on progress became part of his learning routine. He realized that motivation is not just a feeling that appears spontaneously but a system that can be nurtured and structured. By designing his environment, setting goals, and managing emotions, he created conditions where learning became natural and sustainable. Through these experiences, Liam discovered another key principle: purpose drives effort, and effort shapes success. When he connected study material to personal interests and future goals, he was more attentive, more persistent, and more willing to embrace challenges. Motivation and mindset were intertwined, forming the foundation upon which memory, focus, and learning strategies could flourish. That evening, he wrote in his notebook, "Learning is powered by why, not just how. Motivation fuels my effort, and my mindset determines how I respond to challenges. With purpose, every task, even difficult ones, becomes meaningful." Liam understood that developing a growth mindset and intrinsic motivation would make him a more effective learner, capable of sustaining effort even when the material was complex or the path long. With these insights, Liam was ready to explore the next stage in his learning journey: understanding how habits shape learning and how small, consistent actions create lasting knowledge and skill. Liam quickly realized that knowledge alone wasn't enough. How he approached daily learning mattered just as much. This led him to explore the power of habits. He had seen that focus, memory techniques, and motivation helped, but without consistent practice, progress was temporary. Habits, he discovered, were the engine that transformed occasional effort into lasting skill and mastery. He began by examining his own routines. Liam noticed that he often procrastinated, leaving difficult tasks for the last minute and relying on bursts of energy to complete them. This pattern caused stress and diminished retention. To change, he decided to create small, manageable daily habits that supported his learning goals. Instead of trying to overhaul everything at once, he started with micro-actions, reviewing vocabulary for 10 minutes each morning, summarizing one paragraph of notes after every study session, and journaling reflections at night. Over time, these micro-habits became automatic. Liam learned that the brain responds well to consistency and repetition, gradually turning deliberate actions into effortless routines. This minimized the mental energy spent deciding what to do, allowing him to focus entirely on absorbing and understanding information. He realized that habits weren't just routines, they were the scaffolding for learning. Another key insight was the role of triggers and cues. Liam placed his notebook and study materials in a visible, organized space. The presence of these items became a cue to start his learning routine. He also linked study sessions with other daily activities, like reviewing flashcards during breakfast or listening to recorded lectures while commuting. By embedding learning into his daily life, he transformed his environment into a supportive structure that reinforced productive habits. He discovered that habits also helped him manage motivation fluctuations. On days when he felt tired or uninspired, automatic routines ensured that learning still occurred. Habits became a safety net, allowing progress even when willpower was low. This taught him that mental toughness and self-discipline are supported not just by effort, but by creating systems that guide action. In addition, Liam noticed that habits influenced long-term retention. Repeated exposure, review, and practice strengthened neural connections, making recall easier and more reliable. He began combining habits with techniques like spaced repetition and active recall, creating a powerful synergy that accelerated learning. By reflecting on his progress, Liam realized that small, consistent actions were far more effective than sporadic, intense study sessions. He wrote in his notebook, "Habits are the bridge between intention and achievement. Every small step I take, repeated daily, compounds into mastery. Learning is no longer a task, it is a natural part of my day." Through cultivating habits, Liam experienced a profound shift. Learning became integrated into his life rather than imposed upon it. He felt more confident, less stressed, and increasingly capable of mastering complex material. Habits provided structure, consistency, and momentum, the essential ingredients for sustained cognitive growth. With these lessons in place, Liam was ready to explore the next dimension of learning, how attention and focus shape comprehension and retention, and how distractions can be managed to maximize mental efficiency. As Liam continued his journey, he realized that even the best habits and motivation were limited without the ability to focus deeply. He noticed that studying in a distracted environment left him remembering very little, no matter how many hours he spent. To truly learn, he needed to understand the psychology of attention and how to control it. He began by analyzing his own distractions. Notifications from his phone, background noise, and wandering thoughts constantly pulled him away from study sessions. Liam learned that the human brain can only focus intensely on one task at a time and that multitasking severely impairs retention. He experimented with removing distractions, silencing his phone, creating a quiet study space, and setting specific time blocks dedicated to single tasks. Next, he applied the Pomodoro technique, breaking his study sessions into 25-minute intervals with short breaks in between. This method leveraged the brain's natural attention span, allowing him to concentrate intensely for short bursts, then recharge to prevent fatigue. He discovered that even when initially uncomfortable, repeated practice increased his ability to maintain focus for longer periods. Liam also experimented with mindfulness exercises to train attention. Spending just a few minutes each day focusing on his breath or observing his thoughts without judgment helped him become aware when his mind drifted. By noticing distractions instead of reacting to them, he could gently redirect his attention back to the task at hand. Over time, his concentration improved, and he could absorb material more efficiently. He learned that active engagement was critical. Simply reading notes or listening passively wasn't enough. Asking questions, summarizing information in his own words, and teaching concepts to an imaginary audience dramatically improved comprehension and recall. Focusing actively on understanding, rather than just memorizing, turned study sessions into meaningful learning experiences. Another insight came from managing mental energy. Liam noticed that his attention fluctuated during the day. He began scheduling the most challenging tasks during his peak energy hours, usually in the morning, and left less demanding work for later. By aligning focus with natural cognitive rhythms, he achieved higher efficiency and reduced frustration. He reflected on the importance of discipline in maintaining focus. Liam wrote in his notebook, "Focus is the gateway to learning. Removing distractions, training attention, and actively engaging with material transforms effort into understanding. My mind becomes stronger each time I resist the pull of interruptions." Through these strategies, Liam discovered that focus is not passive. It is a skill that requires practice, structure, and awareness. With improved attention, every study session became more productive, and learning no longer felt like a struggle. He felt empowered, knowing that by mastering focus, he could control the quality of his own learning experience. Liam's next challenge would be to understand how memory consolidation and retrieval work, allowing him to retain knowledge long-term and recall it effectively whenever needed. After mastering focus, Liam turned his attention to memory consolidation and retrieval, realizing that learning was incomplete without being able to retain and recall information effectively. He discovered that memory is not a single process but a series of interconnected stages: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Understanding these stages allowed him to optimize each step for better learning outcomes. Encoding, Liam learned, begins with attention. If the brain isn't fully engaged when receiving information, it fails to store it effectively. This confirmed the importance of the focus techniques he had been practicing. But encoding alone was insufficient. He discovered that meaningful connections enhanced retention. Linking new concepts to prior knowledge, creating mental images, and forming narratives helped information stick in long-term memory. For example, when studying historical events, Liam imagined the scenes vividly, giving each event characters, emotions, and a storyline. This approach made recall easier and more natural. Next, Liam explored spaced repetition, revisiting material at increasing intervals. He realized that forgetting is a natural part of learning, but strategically timed review strengthens neural connections. Using flashcards and digital apps that reminded him to review concepts at the right moments, he noticed that he retained more information with less effort compared to cramming sessions. He also experimented with active recall, testing himself instead of passively rereading notes. Attempting to retrieve information from memory forced his brain to strengthen the pathways associated with that knowledge. Mistakes during recall became valuable feedback, guiding him to focus on areas that required more attention. Over time, this practice dramatically increased both retention and confidence. Sleep became another essential component of memory consolidation. Liam observed that studying late into the night without adequate rest left him forgetting even recently learned material. Research confirmed that sleep helps transfer knowledge from short-term to long-term memory, making it an indispensable part of effective learning. Nutrition and exercise also contributed, providing the energy and cognitive support needed for memory processes. Liam began combining all these strategies into a comprehensive approach: focused attention during learning, connecting new information to existing knowledge, using spaced repetition, practicing active recall, and ensuring proper rest and self-care. He found that each element reinforced the others, creating a system that maximized both retention and recall. He wrote in his notebook, "Memory is not a passive storage space, it is an active process. By encoding thoughtfully, reviewing strategically, and testing myself, I build a memory that works when I need it most. Learning becomes permanent when I combine attention, connection, and retrieval. Through these practices, Liam experienced a transformation. He could recall facts more easily, integrate complex ideas, and apply knowledge across different subjects. Memory was no longer a limitation, it had become a tool, a bridge connecting effort with mastery. With this foundation, Liam was ready to explore the next crucial aspect of learning: how to manage emotions and mindset to enhance cognitive performance and overcome mental barriers. With memory strategies in place, Liam realized that another critical factor in learning was emotional and cognitive balance. He noticed that even when he had focus, habits, and memory techniques, stress, anxiety, and self-doubt could block his ability to absorb and apply knowledge. Understanding how emotions affect the brain became the next step in mastering the psychology of learning. Liam discovered that stress triggers the release of cortisol, which can interfere with memory encoding and recall. During high-pressure exams or deadlines, he often found himself forgetting material he had studied thoroughly. To counteract this, he experimented with mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Simple breathing exercises, short meditation sessions, and brief breaks allowed him to calm his mind, reduce anxiety, and restore mental clarity. He realized that learning is most effective when the mind is calm and focused rather than tense and scattered. He also explored the concept of self-talk and mindset. Negative thoughts like, "I can't do this," or "I'll never remember," created mental blocks. By consciously replacing these thoughts with positive, constructive statements, "I can figure this out step by step," or "I have learned similar concepts before, I can do it again," Liam noticed a significant improvement in his confidence and performance. He understood that mindset is a lens through which we perceive challenges. A growth-oriented perspective transforms obstacles into learning opportunities. Another important factor was managing cognitive load. Liam realized that trying to learn too many new concepts at once overwhelmed his working memory, leading to confusion and frustration. He began breaking complex topics into smaller, manageable chunks and alternating study sessions across different subjects. This approach reduced mental fatigue and improved both understanding and retention. Motivation and emotional regulation also played a key role. Liam learned that celebrating small achievements, reflecting on progress, and rewarding effort rather than only outcomes boosted engagement and resilience. When he approached learning with curiosity rather than fear of failure, he could explore deeper connections, ask questions, and retain knowledge more effectively. He integrated all these insights into a holistic approach, planning focused study sessions, breaking down material, practicing memory techniques, and managing emotions and mindset to create optimal learning conditions. Over time, he noticed that challenges felt less intimidating, and his ability to process and retain information increased dramatically. Liam wrote in his notebook, "Learning is as much about managing the mind and emotions as it is about memorizing facts. Calm, focus, and a positive mindset unlock the brain's potential. When I balance emotions and cognition, knowledge flows naturally and learning becomes joyful." Through emotional and cognitive balance, Liam experienced a new level of mastery. He could tackle difficult subjects without panic, absorb complex concepts more efficiently, and approach every task with confidence. He realized that mental and emotional preparation is as crucial as strategy, memory, and focus in the learning process. With this insight, Liam was ready to explore how reflection and metacognition, thinking about one's own thinking, could further enhance learning and make knowledge truly adaptable and flexible. Liam's journey continued as he discovered the power of metacognition, or thinking about his own thinking. He realized that understanding how he learned was just as important as learning itself. By reflecting on his strategies, identifying what worked and what didn't, and adjusting his approach, he could learn more efficiently and deeply. He began keeping a learning journal, noting which study techniques helped him retain information and which left him confused. For example, he observed that reading passively rarely led to long-term retention, while creating visual diagrams or teaching concepts to a friend made the material stick. By analyzing his own patterns, Liam became more aware of his cognitive strengths and weaknesses. Liam also practiced self-questioning, asking himself before, during, and after study sessions, "What is the main idea here? How does this relate to what I already know? Can I explain this in my own words?" These questions forced him to actively process information and strengthened his ability to transfer knowledge across different contexts. He noticed that comprehension improved dramatically when he engaged in this reflective process. Another insight came from monitoring effort and progress. Liam tracked how long he spent on tasks, how challenging they were, and how much he retained afterward. This feedback allowed him to adjust his study schedule, focus on weak areas, and allocate time more effectively. Metacognition, he realized, was like having a personal coach guiding every learning session. He also discovered the importance of strategic error analysis. When he made mistakes, instead of ignoring them or feeling discouraged, he examined why they occurred. Was it a misunderstanding, lack of attention, or insufficient practice? By learning from errors, he strengthened his understanding and reduced the likelihood of repeating them. Mistakes became tools for growth rather than setbacks. Liam found that metacognition enhanced all the other principles he had learned. Focused attention, memory techniques, habits, motivation, emotional control, and growth mindset all became more effective when combined with reflection and self-awareness. He could anticipate challenges, select the best strategies, and approach new material with confidence. He wrote in his notebook, "Metacognition turns learning from a passive process into an active one. By thinking about how I think, I gain insight into my mind, identify what works, and refine my approach. Learning becomes smarter, faster, and more meaningful." Through this reflective practice, Liam felt a deeper sense of control over his education. He no longer relied solely on willpower or rote memorization. Instead, he approached every topic with strategy, insight, and awareness. Learning had become a skill he could actively refine, adapt, and apply across any subject or challenge. With metacognition in place, Liam was ready to explore the final stage of his journey: how to apply knowledge effectively and transfer it to real-life situations, turning learning into practical wisdom. After mastering metacognition, Liam realized that true learning is not complete until it can be applied and transferred to real-life situations. He understood that memorizing facts or understanding concepts in isolation is valuable, but the ultimate goal is to use knowledge effectively, solve problems, and adapt it to new contexts. He began by experimenting with practical applications of what he learned. In science, he conducted small experiments to see theories in action. In language learning, he practiced speaking with friends and writing short stories. In math, he applied formulas to everyday problems, like calculating discounts, planning trips, or analyzing data for a school project. Each application reinforced his understanding and made abstract concepts tangible. Liam also explored analogy and transfer, connecting ideas from one domain to another. He realized that problem-solving skills in math could be adapted to strategic thinking in games or planning. Lessons about memory and focus in one subject could improve performance in others. By actively seeking connections, he trained his mind to see patterns and solutions across contexts, strengthening cognitive flexibility. Reflection remained central. After each application, Liam asked himself, "What worked? What could I do differently? How does this relate to other things I know?" This process reinforced learning and highlighted areas for improvement. He realized that mistakes in application were just another form of feedback, guiding refinement and deeper understanding. Collaboration became another important factor. Liam shared his knowledge with peers, explaining concepts and solving problems together. Teaching others required him to organize thoughts clearly, anticipate questions, and adapt explanations to different perspectives. This not only strengthened his understanding but also developed communication skills and confidence. He also noticed the value of real-world challenges. Engaging with authentic problems, like planning a community project, solving a practical engineering challenge, or preparing for a debate, helped him integrate multiple skills: memory, focus, problem-solving, and emotional control. Learning became dynamic, meaningful, and directly relevant to life beyond school. Liam wrote in his notebook, "Knowledge is powerful only when applied. Learning is not just about understanding, it is about using, adapting, and connecting ideas. The ability to transfer skills and solve real problems turns study into mastery." Through applying and transferring knowledge, Liam completed the final piece of his learning journey. He felt confident, capable, and prepared to face new challenges. Every principle he had learned, focus, memory, habits, motivation, emotional balance, growth mindset, and metacognition, culminated in practical, effective action. Learning had become a skill, a tool, and a lifelong practice. As Liam reached the final stage of his journey, he reflected on everything he had learned about the psychology of learning. From focus and memory to motivation, habits, emotional balance, metacognition, and practical application, he realized that learning was not a single skill but a complex, interconnected process. Each principle reinforced the others, creating a comprehensive system for mastering knowledge and applying it effectively. He understood that learning is a lifelong journey. Intelligence is not fixed, memory can be trained, and skills can be developed through consistent practice and deliberate effort. By combining focus, memory strategies, habits, intrinsic motivation, emotional regulation, reflection, and application, he could approach any challenge with confidence and resilience. Knowledge was no longer passive, it became a tool he could wield, adapt, and transfer across situations. Liam also recognized the importance of self-awareness and reflection. Tracking progress, analyzing mistakes, and adjusting strategies allowed him to learn more efficiently and avoid repeating errors. Metacognition turned every study session into a learning laboratory, where experimentation, reflection, and adaptation reinforced growth. He realized that the mind thrives not only on information but on structured, intentional practice and feedback. Furthermore, Liam had seen how motivation and mindset shaped every aspect of learning. A growth mindset and intrinsic motivation made challenges exciting rather than intimidating. They encouraged persistence through setbacks, curiosity in exploration, and resilience in the face of difficulty. Learning became a meaningful and empowering process, not just a requirement or obligation. He reflected on the role of habits and routines. Consistent, small actions accumulated into lasting mastery. By embedding learning into daily life, Liam transformed effort into automatic, sustainable progress. Focused attention and deliberate practice became second nature, and he could maintain high levels of performance even under stress or fatigue. Applying knowledge to real-world situations completed the cycle. Learning was no longer theoretical, it was practical, flexible, and adaptable. Liam could solve problems, make informed decisions, communicate effectively, and innovate by connecting ideas across domains. Theories and techniques were no longer abstract, they had become living tools he could use to navigate life. He wrote in his notebook, "Learning is not about memorizing facts or completing tasks. It is about understanding, applying, and growing. Mental focus, habits, motivation, reflection, and application create a system that turns knowledge into power. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen my mind, every mistake a lesson, and every success a step forward." By integrating all he had learned, Liam felt prepared for the future. He knew that obstacles would arise, but he now possessed the skills to approach them strategically, thoughtfully, and resiliently. Learning had become a lifelong habit, a deliberate practice, and a source of confidence and creativity. The journey taught him a profound lesson. The psychology of learning is not just about education, it is about shaping the mind, mastering oneself, and unlocking potential. Through focus, memory, habits, motivation, emotional balance, reflection, and practical application, anyone can become a more effective learner, capable of achieving their goals and thriving in a complex world. Liam smiled, ready to embrace new challenges, confident that the skills he had cultivated would guide him for the rest of his life. His journey demonstrated that learning is not just an activity, it is a mindset, a system, and a lifelong adventure. The lesson is clear: by understanding and applying the psychology of learning, we can transform how we acquire knowledge, improve memory, and achieve mastery in every area of life.